in southeastern Wisconsin. Damian Nelson here along with David, Octavia's hero. David's going to be joining us here on the audio in just a moment, but what an amazing SummerSlam. So much to talk about, so much to discuss as it pertains to SummerSlam 2010. David, it was just, there was a lot going on with tonight's event, including the return of one expected superstar and the return of another superstar that certainly was not expected. We're going to be taking your phone calls live. We apologize if things are loud here, but it is a party atmosphere here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin as we review, WWE SummerSlam. Sorry, getting David Harrell dialed in here. We are all the way live. We're going to be taking your phone calls. The number, 347-996-5278. 1-347-996-5278. And we're going to be taking your calls live tonight. We're going to be going to your tweets on Twitter. A lot of you called in. A lot of you sent in your comments about tonight's pay-per-view, the return of The Undertaker. One title changes hands for what was going into it a not very heavily promoted WWE SummerSlam, but a SummerSlam that ultimately delivered a lot of newsworthy items. Again, the number, 347-996-5278. 347-996-5278 is the number to call, and let's talk about it. Your broadcast team, WWE Summerslam from Los Angeles, was Michael Cass and Jerry the King Lawler. We saw a couple of celebrities in the house, including Trace Atkins, a lot of D-list ladies, I guess you'd say, Marlon Wayans, and, well, that was about it. As you know, the Divas Intercontinental, WWE, and World Championships were all on the line, and going into this night, a lot of people thought that we were going to see the return of The Undertaker. The return of The Undertaker, well, we would indeed see that, but before we get to that, the opening contest was Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston for the Intercontinental Championship. A very good matchup. Dolph Ziggler bumps better than anyone in the business right now. And yes, that does include Alicia Fox, and it was more evident after we saw the promos before the show of Mr. Perfect, who is probably the best bumper in the history of the business at WWE SummerSlam. Well, this match would end in a no contest as Nexus attacked Kofi Kingston and Dolph Ziggler, spending a lot more time working over Dolph Ziggler than they did Kofi Kingston. Nexus then cuts a promo afterwards, and they tell us that sorry, working with David Hero, where are you? What's going on here? You're trying to get dialed in. We're Skyping in here and trying to get David Hero on the line, be that as it may. Nexus cuts a promo saying that, again, you are either Nexus or against us. Little did we know how important that statement would be later on tonight in that main event matchup between them and Team WWE. Again, no contest for this matchup. Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston. Dolph Ziggler still the Intercontinental Champion. We appreciate those of you who are calling in. We're going to get to your phone calls in just a few moments. The next matchup is the Divas Championship. It is the returning Melina versus Alicia Fox. Melina wins this matchup and is the new WWE Divas Champion. Melina coming out looking like a bit of the, I would say, Big Bird meets the gobbledygooker in this contest. Weird Indian getup she wore coming out. It worked, though, especially her tights she was wearing, which had some arrows pointing in some very interesting places. But be that as it may, this matchup showed Alicia Fox still showing that she is probably the best bumper in the history of Divas wrestling, but not able to defeat Melina, who returns and walks out the WWE Divas Champion. Now, after this we saw Lay Cool come out and attack Melina and actually not threaten, but actually say that they were going to be tweeting out some stuff, which they never quite got a chance to do. And David Hero, Alicia Fox, is the loser in this Divas Championship matchup.
Really? Is that how you want to say it? She's a loser?
Well, she lost the match, right?
You know what?
Making her the loser.
You know what's a shame about the whole thing?
What's
is
a shame?
that they ruined Alicia Fox's title run to do a hot shot angle with Lay Cool against Melina. That's all that it comes down to.
But it worked.
I don't know if it worked. I mean, think about it. The fans aren't behind Lay Cool. They could care less about Michelle and Layla. And now it's against a program with Melina. I mean, unless you're going to try to unify the ladies' belt, it doesn't make any sense. I'm just not pleased.
Of course you're not. You picked Alicia Fox going into it.
Well, and who did you pick?
I picked Alicia Fox going into
it.
Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston for the Intercontinental Championship. Nexus gets involved in that matchup. Kofi Kingston not able to regain that Intercontinental Championship. David Hero, your thoughts?
I think that Vinnie Mac and company just proved to the world what they honestly feel about the IC title when Nexus has to come out and beat up the opening match for a belt that used to be prestigious, that people truly cared about. Now it's truly just a prop in the land of Titan Sports.
And it's funny because we seemingly saw how important that belt was in the SummerSlam preview show, which had not only the Ultimate Warrior defeating the Honky Tonk Man for the Intercontinental Championship, but that epic matchup between Mr. Perfect and Bret the Hitman Hart from SummerSlam 1991, I believe it was, maybe 1990, the match that a lot of people have talked about. And I say, David Hero, that Dolph Ziggler is the best bumper in the business right now.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, he's pretty good. I don't know if he's the best, but it's just a shame. I mean, they had a chance to showcase that title. I think Kofi and Ziggler could have had a great match together if they just would have given them the time. I mean, they had so much free time in this entire pay-per-view. They could have had that match happen. They could have gone 15 to 20 minutes, could have put on a great show for everyone there, but instead they were more concerned about making Nexus look like these big bad guys, these, I don't want to say monster heels, but just as a heel faction, and the whole thing backfired on them. They screwed the opening match to guys that wound up losing the main event. Bad call.
We're going to be taking your phone calls to number 347-996-5278. Again, 347-996-5278. Dameon Nelson here along with David Hero after watching WWE SummerSlam live on pay-per-view. We've got a caller from the 822 area code, the 845 area code, the 510 area code. We're going to be announcing by area code. So once you hear your area code, please begin to speak and be a part of the program. We'll get to those phone calls in a minute. David Hero, the next match was a handicap match. It was the Big Show versus the Straight Edge Society. It was Joseph Mercury, Luke Gallows, and CM Punk and Serena going up against the one-man army that is the Big Show. Your thoughts on that matchup that saw Big Show win in a handed fashion?
I thought that match was actually the best booked match on the entire show. It was a well-booked handicap match, which you don't see very often. Unfortunately, Joey Mercury and Luke Gallows and CM Punk, they do all that work, and once again, the Straight Edge Society comes up short. I mean, seriously, these guys have not had a big win in forever, and it's almost to the point now where if they can't even beat Rey Mysterio, how can they beat the Big Show? And if they can't beat anybody, why even have that stable together?
Well, I guess they got to do something until CM Punk grows his hair back.
Well, you know what? Joey Mercury is one of the best wrestling talents out there, and it's great to see him back where he belongs, in the top company in the world. And, the guy can go. The guy can work. And, right now he's in a great spot with CM Punk. They are legitimately, two of the best friends in wrestling. And hopefully they can do something special because Joey Mercury is a special talent. He's been wrestling for a long time. CM Punk, I'm impressed by Punk. No matter what they give him, he still is able to get himself over. There were chants for Punk tonight, and
He's very talented. He's amazingly talented.
He is, and he's a 3-time world champion.
And where did he get his start, David? Wasn't it right here in the Milwaukee area?
It was the Milwaukee, Chicagoland area, yes. CM Punk.
Absolutely. Yep.
But here's the thing. What does Big Show benefit from winning? How does that help establish? See, here's the problem. They don't establish any new stars. And I'm not saying that, CM Punk is a new star. No, he's had a good run, but they could have elevated Mercury and Gallows tonight, and they chose not to.
We want to thank the hundreds of you that are joining us right now in the Blog Talk Radio chat room and also the chatmosphere at pwrshow.com. We are on Twitter. Our Twitter username is pwrshow. We had all the updates tonight, including all of your comments as well. Also on YouTube. You can catch all of our episodes on demand, including our recent edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time, where you can see what we thought about SummerSlam going into the show. Our YouTube username is Max Sports, and you can get all that, find all that, real quickly at our website, which is pwrshow.com. Before we get into the next phase of events at WWE Summerslam 2010, where some big newsworthy items came, let's go to our first phone call. Our first phone caller comes from the 832 area code. Caller, you are live from the 832 area code. What do you have? What are your thoughts on WWE SummerSlam?
Hey, Dameon and David, this is James calling from Houston. How y'all guys doing?
Tremendous. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. As for SummerSlam, it was okay. Big question I have is, what is the logic of John Cena getting DDT'd on the mat to turn around and make eliminate two people in less than 30 seconds?
I think David Hero can answer that because he's a big fan of the man who John Cena is being presented as lately, at least for the last several years, and he's got an emblem on his chest.
Wow. You know what? It's ridiculous.
I mean, the only thing I can think of for Nexus to get their key back is if they present everybody who the leader is tomorrow night on Raw. Other than that, what is Nexus going to do now since they lost after this big build-up, You
know what? They lost all their steam tonight. They did. It's gone. Because here's why. Like you said, John Cena, DDT'd on the concrete floor, still has enough in him to beat the last two guys after getting just beaten around all night.
Now, David, come on. He pulled that from the bottom of his soul. He pulled it from the very last of what he had left to make that win happen. John Cena won for WWE. Remember, the balance of the company held in the arms and hands of John Cena. He had to pull it out of nowhere.
You know what? This is the first time that I can think of that a Survivor Series type match between two big factions where the balance of power was at stake was only won by one person. So what they just told everybody in the locker room and everyone that watched, everyone that's listening, is that John Cena is bigger than pro wrestling itself. Not just bigger than the WWE, but bigger than wrestling, and that he can't be beat. They dropped the ball and kicked it out of bounds. This was terrible booking.
And then can I get one more question before I let you guys go?
Yes, please.
And as for David Hero's boy Sheamus, I'm glad that he retained the belt, but at the same time, the man, since he's had the belt, has not gotten a clean victory. So what does the company think about Sheamus if he hasn't gotten a clean pin yet?
Well, think about it. When you're a true heel, as long as you leave with the belt every night, if you win by pinfall or lose by disqualification, all it does is just build more and more heat. So eventually when he does lose, it just will mean that much more, that the fans will be that much happier that he finally lost. They're doing old-fashioned 1960s, 70s, 80s style heel right now. Honky Tonk, man, the longest reigning IC champ of all time, how many times did he ever get a clean victory? He almost always would lose by count or disqualification.
That's what made him great. Let's go to another caller. Phone caller from the 845 area code. You're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report, Interactive Live. What were your thoughts on WWE SummerSlam?
Hey, guys. It's Mike from New York. How you guys doing?
Hey, tremendous. Mike. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing fine. I've been a long-time listener, first-time caller tonight, and
Thank you.
I thought the pay-per-view was pretty good, but I just wanted to talk about the main event and how people thought that John Cena was going to turn heel. I never thought that, but I liked how that they kind of hinted towards it when Edge and Cena were like pushing each other, and I'm like, oh, this might be it. But I never really wanted to believe that he would turn heel because I just don't think WWE would do something that cool again. I think they've lost anything that's interesting. Like it'll just never happen again. So I think it's a shame that Nexus lost because they had all that build-up. And now
well,
it's
Mike, there were a lot
gone.
of people, though. Mike, there were a lot of people going into this pay-per-view that expected or thought that there was that chance that John Cena would turn heel or bad guy tonight. You're saying you don't see that as ever being a chance.
No, I think they're making way too much money with Cena, and I just think that WWE, they're just not going to do it. They're making way too much money with him, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. Just never.
All right.
Well, you know what?
Thanks for that call, Mike, out in New York.
When he came out in that new purple T-shirt, you kind of had a funny hunch that wasn't going to happen.
Gotta sell those T-shirts, right, David?
Hey, that's what it's all about. Merchandising is where the money's at, baby.
Let's go to our next caller. Our next caller comes to us from the 818 area code. You're live on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive. What were your thoughts on WWE Summerslam?
Hey, guys, it's Nine. How you guys doing?
Tremendous. How are you?
Man.
I'm doing well. Actually, you guys just kind of hit on the head. Merchandising is where it's at. And I was going to say the biggest party of the summer wasn't a big party for the internet wrestling community because everybody wanted to see John Cena turn heel. And I wasn't the only one.
Well, we got an interesting replacement, though, and a returning couple of superstars for WWE tonight.
Yes, we did. I want to talk about that, too. I want to say two things real quick. Going into the main event, I knew that John Cena wasn't going to turn heel, much to my chagrin, mainly because the new SmackDown vs. Raw box cover came out, and guess who's on the front of the video game? John Cena. And with that said, I don't think that they would give up that kind of merchandising to turn him heel. And secondly, about Daniel Bryan returning, it was a wash because when he came back in, I was very excited to see him. But then WWE turns around and goes against their own 3-month rule and brings back this Miz-Daniel Bryan kind of heat. And I don't want to see that. I want to see Daniel Bryan go back to Nexus or do something different. Why did The Miz have to run in during the middle of the main event and ruin the main event for me? I just thought it was ridiculous. And overall, I thought the pay-per-view was not worth whatever it was that it cost because I didn't pay for it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for calling in out in the 818. David, how about we take one more phone call before we run down the rest of the call and then end the show with the rest of our phone calls. We got about 10 people waiting on hold right now. Let's go to a caller out in the 215 area code. Caller in the 215, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive.
Hey, this is Vaughn from Philadelphia.
Hey, how are you, sir?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Tremendous.
First time call. I listen to the show all the time.
Thank you for tuning in.
No problem. I just don't understand, one, what the WWE gains out of John Cena winning again for the umpteenth time. I mean, I didn't really want to see John Cena go heel. It didn't make any sense for his business, but at least have Nexus win. And I guess they didn't want to put their top babyface laying down to a bunch of rookies. I mean, I guess that's the problem.
Instead they just sacrifice everybody else to Nexus.
Yeah,
they'll let John Cena win. The only person that actually wins in this whole thing for me is Daniel Bryan. Because
he eliminated 2 or 3 people.
Well, no, he's presented by John Cena, who is the face of the company. Okay, he was able to, eliminate, 2 people by submission, and now he's set up in a program with The Miz at least for the next month.
Yeah,
he couldn't ask for a better spot to be in right now.
Oh yeah, because after he got fired and he was banished and all that other stuff, and now he's in the program, probably going to be the next pay-per-view against The Miz. And
this is why The Miz did not cash in his Money in the Bank plan against Sheamus, because he's going into a program now with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, that didn't really matter to me too much. To me, it just shows about the main event. and how once again they bring out Super Cena again, this time with a different color T-shirt, and he saves the day once again for the balance of power, end quote, for the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't seem like it didn't end. It didn't further anything. It's killed it pretty much to me. I mean, there's nothing left to do.
They killed Nexus. Nexus is done. Unless they got something really, really creative for tomorrow night on Raw, they just killed off a whole lot of money and about a good 2.5 months worth of a hot angle for them.
And thanks to that caller from out in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Dameon Nelson and David Hero live, coming to you from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're at Romine's High Pockets, where we watched WWE Summerslam with wrestling fans from all ages across the southeastern Wisconsin area. Tomorrow night, David, we're going to be talking about WWE SummerSlam, so much more on 540 ESPN when we are live at 11 East, 10 Central, streaming live at pwrshow.com, on Blog Talk Radio, and also, of course, on our home station, 540 ESPN, 540 ESPN. And by the way, our special guest tomorrow night, David Hero, our guest tomorrow night is Mr. Anderson from TNA Wrestling. He's probably going to have a lot of very interesting things to say, especially considering all the controversy surrounding TNA Wrestling from just last week.
Oh, it's going to be a hot show. Don't you dare miss tomorrow night. It's going to be awesome.
Continuing to run down the card at WWE SummerSlam, it was Sheamus who confronted Kane, and Sheamus proclaimed that he will soon be called the Big Red Monster. Sheamus and Kane, obviously two champions, two separate brands. We see that on occasion on pay-per-views, and it's always fun. But the big promo of the night, David Hero, was The Miz. The Miz coming out and announcing his decision as to whether or not he will join Team WWE tonight. He then says, running down the list of all the names and people in Team WWE, that he was confronted by them all individually, and they all told him basically that he was better than they were. The Miz accepts the challenge. The Miz, at this point in the night, is the 7th member of Team WWE.
You know, and it made perfect sense because Miz's promo was so heelish. I mean, you would think he would have pandered to the fans just to get more of that pop, but he did everything he could to make them boo him, and now we know why, because they wanted to make sure that Daniel Bryan would have gotten a bigger babyface pop than The Miz.
David Hero, while watching that promo from The Miz, it's no secret I am a Miz marquee. I am a fan of The Miz, have been for a very long time, but watching that promo, I really did, and people make this comparison a lot, but the delivery, the tone, the execution had a little bit of The Rock in it.
Well, yeah, especially when he grabs and holds the microphone the same way. You know what? Honest to God, The Rock needs to come back and, slap that guy around a little bit. I mean, please. That's gimmick infringement.
It was for the WWE Championship, Sheamus versus Randy Orton. David Hero, I thought this was a very good match, and the question, though, that I found during this matchup is Randy Orton in this tweener role starting to get a little bit annoying.
Yeah, I can't stand it when he's like, smacking his fist on the mat and everything else. But yeah, it's just a little bit too much. It's almost like he's trying now too hard to get the crowd behind him. Mm-hmm. But I will say this: Randy Orton, I'm a Sheamus guy. Okay, I think Sheamus is going to be a bigger star, over time. But Randy Orton led Sheamus to a great match tonight. Normally it's the heels that lead the match. I thought Randy Orton did a great job protecting and hiding, the newness, the greenness of Sheamus. No pun intended on the greenness, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know what? Randy Orton's showing why he's a star when you can take guys that aren't completely ready and make the matches look good and look solid. And let's keep in mind, Sheamus also has been putting in the work because he's come a long way in the past 6 months.
During the match tonight, we heard a very distinct and a very clear "We Want Miz" chant. We'll get to that in a minute. Now, David Hero,
I didn't hear that.
Oh, of course you didn't. But one thing I wrote down during this matchup is that Sheamus is a star.
He is. He is. You know what? When he first beat John Cena in that tables match, he has progressed every month. He's a student of the game. He works hard. His promos have gotten so much better. He seems to be more comfortable in his own skin. And you know what? He's going to get there. And how can you not get better when you work with guys like John Cena and Randy Orton and Triple H? You know, pretty much the three top guys in the in that company are pretty much taking him under their wing and teaching him what to do.
Absolutely, and the benefits showed, especially as he inadvertently throws the referee out of the ring, causing a disqualification. Randy Orton wins the matchup, but it was a disqualification, so the man who retained the WWE Championship, Sheamus, goes into Night of Champions on September 19th from Chicago, Illinois, still the WWE Champion. David Hero, where does he go from here? Because seemingly this thing with Randy Orton might be somewhat done.
No, it's not done, because if Orton didn't win, he get no more matches. You watch. It'll be a no disqualification match in Night of Champions, Sheamus against Randy Orton.
Rey Mysterio versus Kane for the World Heavyweight Championship. I will say it now, as I have said before, I had no care or interest in this match aside from one thing that would come to fruition. This match was SLOW, slow, and it really seemed as if there was no chance Rey Mysterio was going to win, and that turned out to be the case as Kane won and retained the World Heavyweight Championship. Kane coming down to the ring with a red casket and opening up the casket several times throughout the match, including at one point where Rey Mysterio was thrown into the casket, where you thought maybe it was a casket match all of a sudden, but at the end of the match, the casket opens up, and who's in it, David Hero? None other than The Undertaker, who returns to WWE tonight. Returns to WWE tonight, initially goes after Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio tells The Undertaker it was not him, it was Kane, and we see a bit of a battle ensue from there.
You know, it almost reminded me of, if you ever saw the movie Ghost Rider, when Ghost Rider would look into the guy's eyes.
That was a great fight.
You could see all of his sins, you know, and it's like, you know, he looked in Ray's eyes and knew it wasn't him, but, you know, what has happened to Rey Mysterio?
An eye for an eye, David.
Yes. Well, and then, of course, if you know about the orbital bone that Ray broke on Taker, kind of funny ha-ha there. But what has happened to Rey Mysterio? He used to be a star.
I think it was that orange outfit he was wearing tonight. He was too much like one other guy.
Gosh.
I understand social services may have been called tonight.
Yeah, seriously. That was one of the rumors that I heard. Some hot news was that people at the Staples Center thought some kid was getting beat up by Kane, you know?
Some kid in math.
Yeah, it's like, did Melina and Ray go shopping together?
Yes, in John Cena's closet. They took all of his old clothes because he had to make room for the purple clothes.
I mean, that was freaking brutal. You know, it's like they're trying too hard to be PG. The one guy they could build a PG company around is Rey Mysterio, and they are just treating him like crap.
Well, what was better, Melina's outfit or Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's outfit when he returned to WWE after his stint in WCW?
Well, Melina always looks better in any outfit, so I'll always have to pick her.
Very true. Kane retains the the World Heavyweight Championship in a rather uneventful match. The big story of that match, obviously, the return of The Undertaker, which a lot of people expected to happen tonight at SummerSlam, and that indeed it did. WWE.
You know what's cool about that, though, is that Undertaker looked like he was in a vegetative state.
Yeah, he even choked up, coughed a few times selling it. Yeah,
his appearance, he looked haggard, he looked worn out. They did a good job with that. I mean, they actually paid attention to details, not like some guy getting his head DDT'd on the concrete floor and popping up like nothing happened, you know?
Speaking of which, during this matchup, David, we got sent some hot news by all of our listeners and followers all over the world. Apparently, during this matchup at WWE.com, the profile of a superstar who had been released several months ago was automatically or all of a sudden back on the WWE.com website. David Hero, his name, Daniel Bryan. It becomes obvious at this point that there is a chance Daniel Bryan may return, but at the same time, what sense would it have made? Now, when we saw it all happen, it made a lot of sense, but at that time, where did he fit, I believe, was the question that you asked going into that main event matchup, the Nexus versus Team WWE. Miz, earlier in the evening, had accepted the challenge and accepted the role of the seventh member of Team WWE. As he enters for his entrance during that matchup, John Cena says, "You were a day late and you're $1 short. We had already filled your role," and they did it with a returning Daniel Bryan to WWE on Team WWE. Before we run down the eliminations and the winner of this matchup, David Hero, your thoughts on the return of Daniel Bryan, the man who was released for not being PG, choking Justin Roberts, spitting in the face of John Cena. It seems as if we were all worked, and Daniel Bryan now back in World Wrestling Entertainment.
You know what? You have to believe that it was a work. I really do. I mean, you know what? Good for Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, American Dragon, whatever you want to call him. I thought it's great for him. He comes back in a great spot. The only thing I did not like is how Nexus was so frustrated that he was back. Now, these guys have taken out Mark Henry, Great Khali, guys that are far bigger and stronger than Daniel Bryan, but they freak out now that Daniel Bryan's on Team WWE. That didn't make any sense to me. But you know what? Happy for him. He's going to get a nice payday, going to get a nice push. Good program with The Miz. You know, he's on his way. Absolutely.
Now, you know, I guess, as we said, we're on ESPN Radio tomorrow night. We are voted the best professional wrestling broadcast radio show in the world today. And we have been working on actually getting Daniel Bryan on the show and found out just recently that Daniel Bryan was not available to do interviews. A little bit of a red flag, not at the time, but makes it all so much more clear right now. This matchup,
you know
Team Nexus.
No, go ahead.
Team Nexus versus Team WWE. Daniel Bryan is in. Michael Cole is not a happy man. Actually, some good interaction between Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and Matt Striker tonight. Let's go over the eliminations as they happen for Team WWE. Firstly, Bryan eliminates Young. Morrison then eliminates Tarver. Then flip over to Nexus. Sheffield eliminates John Morrison and then eliminates R-Truth in short time thereafter. Back to Team WWE as Edge eliminates Skip Sheffield. Skip Sheffield, as I said before, eliminated Morrison and R-Truth, and then Bret Hart is eliminated on his own for the use of a steel chair that he didn't even bring to the ring, but he did use. Bret Hart shining a lot more in this match, even more so than he did in his match at WrestleMania 26.
Yeah, Bret Hart looked great. And you know what? It's like, I was curious as to how they're going to protect Bret in this match, because there's no way Bret's going to lay down for anybody in Nexus. And you know Vince isn't going to have Bret be, you know, on the winning end of that match. So I thought it was well done, well booked. But I thought Bret looked great. I just wish he would have gone a little bit longer than the 2 or 3 minutes he was in the ring for.
Good point for sure. Chris Jericho eliminating David Otunga. John Cena eliminating Justin Gabriel. And Heath Slater, David Hero, a little bit of a star being born tonight. And Heath Slater, as he eliminated 2 legends in WWE, in Chris Jericho and Edge.
Yeah, good for Heath Slater. I mean, you know, he had the best night of anybody tonight. I mean, well, maybe not as big as Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan, but yeah, Heath Slater, 2 big wins. He needs to retire because I don't think he'll ever have bigger wins in his career than he had tonight.
Heath Slater, Skip Sheffield, Justin Gabriel, and Wade Barrett, I think, would be the 4 standouts tonight from WWE SummerSlam and Team Nexus. John Cena would be left with Wade Barrett and Justin Gabriel. As we said, Cena eliminating Gabriel after Gabriel missed that sensational finishing maneuver of his. John Cena then makes Wade Barrett tap out. David Hero, we all agreed going into this match and even during the match leading up to the final moments, the winners of the match should in no way, shape, or form be Team WWE, but should have been the Nexus.
Agreed. What does this do for John Cena? It does nothing. It does nothing. They ruined a great thing with Miz. They could have got a ton of heat on Miz tomorrow night as the guy that cost Team WWE the match. They didn't do it. They could, once again, they don't know what they're doing anymore. I'm convinced of it. You know, I joke about Alicia Fox not being champ and how distraught I am. You know, it kind of sucks for Alicia Fox because she made improvements. Melina does not need the title. She just got back from injury. Let her chase a little bit longer. That's where the money is when the baby face chases the heels. And lately what they've been doing is no one's chasing nobody for any of the matches, for anything in WWE. Just poor booking, and this is how a company who is making so much money can trip and fall when they don't develop and bring up more stars. They could only ride the John Cena, Triple H, Randy Orton train for so long. And as you can see, with Triple H being hurt, now it's all on Orton and on Cena.
That's WWE SummerSlam live tonight on pay-per-view. As we said, David, we watched it here from Romine's High Pockets on South 27th Street, Milwaukee. Next Sunday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here in Romine's in Anderson. Mr. Anderson will be here with a special appearance presented by the Pro Wrestling Report, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Go to blizzardbrawl.com or pwrshow.com to get signed up in advance for that huge signing with top TNA superstar Ken Anderson. We're going to get to a couple of your phone calls here. We won't have time to get through all of them, so be patient. As I said, we will identify you by area code, and if you can't get through tonight, be sure to give us a call tomorrow night as we are live on ESPN Radio for 2 full hours talking more about WWE Summerslam and all the latest hot news. And if you want to catch up on all the news earlier this week, be sure to check out the Pro Wrestling Report primetime television show on Time Warner Cable in southeastern Wisconsin and all over the world on demand when you want it on your time at pwrshow.com. And finally, be sure to vote and tell us your thoughts on WWE SummerSlam 2010 at pwrshow.com. Was SummerSlam, what were your thoughts on SummerSlam, pass or fail? We'll have the results of that poll on tomorrow night's radio show. David, let's go to a phone caller now in the 202 area code. Caller, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive Live.
Hey, how y'all doing?
What's up, my man?
Hey, what's up, man? Just got finished watching SummerSlam. Just been a long time listener. First of all, been a long time listener, watcher, PWR. Love your show. Love everything y'all been doing. Keep up the good work. Y'all keep me in tune and all my wrestling fanatics and everything like that.
Thank you so much.
My name is Ron, coming from Washington, D.C., home of Batista. But tonight, I've marked out the night. I marked out like I never did before because I'm a huge fan of Bryan Danielson, a.k.a. Daniel Bryan, for a long time, and I was like, he was robbed, and and everything like that. People signing petitions and everything to get him back into the WWE. He's finally there. I feel like I was worked, but hey, that's how.
We all got worked, and we speculated early on that this may have been a work, and we tried to figure it out, but really couldn't get to the bottom of it. Kudos to WWE for working millions of people so well.
Yeah, and I believe it was a total work. I mean, how else you can, the whole thing. But you know what I think it was? Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan himself is already a major star on his own. So I believe that WWE was like, well, we don't really need to put him with the Nexus because all of those guys are like unknowns, where Bryan Danielson, to the wrestling consumers like ourselves, know where he comes from. And he's already been over with taking on The Miz, and he even beat The Miz on an additional Raw one point in time. So
yes, he did.
To have him with the Nexus would been kind of, blend in. He stuck out like a sore thumb. He really did when he was with the Nexus. So to take him out of the Nexus in a dramatic way that they did was a good thing, a blessing for Bryan Danielson, because I don't think he would have fit well in the Nexus, because you already have Wade Barrett, who's a standout on his own with his physique and his mic skills and everything like that. You don't really...
And his hair, which never gets messed up in any match.
Exactly.
Yes, a good point, David Hero. Thank you for that call out in Washington, D.C. We're going to try to get through all of these calls as quickly as we can. The next caller is going to be coming to us from the 870 area code. You're live on the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive Live.
How's it going, fellas? How y'all doing tonight?
Tremendous.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on SummerSlam?
I'm actually going to go against the IWC and say I thought it was an excellent pay-per-view. But
what made it excellent?
Like, I honestly think it wasn't better than the whole effing show. It was not. Because compared to TNA, they did way better.
All right. What made it excellent? That's the question.
What made it excellent?
Yep.
Honestly, the ending, it grabbed fans' attention. The whole arena went crazy. Cena becoming Super Cena. But to me, what grabbed the whole thing that made me feel like I was watching WWE in its prime, Undertaker appearing out of the coffin out of nowhere. That basically was like, okay, good enough for me.
But that was an exciting...
magical. You know, Undertaker is magical, and every time he comes back, it's always a great reaction. I mean, he's their savior. He's the guy that can, help them out when needed, and he did prove that tonight because, let's face it, King versus Mysterio means nothing. And then Undertaker's there, and the crowd goes nuts.
Yep, they'll forget about the match and will have forgotten about the match that happened tonight. Want to remind everybody that during the pay-per-view tonight, the Cause, Frank Cosentino, posted some video comments after each match, aside from the main event, on the Pro Wrestling Report YouTube channel. And joining over 4 million people who have watched the Pro Wrestling Report videos on our YouTube channel. You can get there via our website, pwrshow.com. Got a couple more minutes for phone callers. Your thoughts on SummerSlam. Let's go now out to the 972 area code. You're live on PWR Interactive Live.
Hey, what's going on? How y'all doing tonight?
Tremendous. What were your thoughts on SummerSlam?
All right, man. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Daniel Bryan just made it for me because besides that, in the Continental title match got ruined by the Nexus. The Nexus got ruined by John Cena. The Miz could have been made a big star. I mean, he's a big star already, but he could have been made bigger. The WWE title match was pretty much, 20 minutes of nothing, which Sheamus got. We didn't get screwed, but the same thing that always happens to Sheamus. He never wins clean. He always has some fluky way to win the title, keep the title, and I don't know. That's all I got on SummerSlam. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you very much for that call. And
Hello?
David Hero, sorry about that. I was on mute. Sorry about that. The top trending topic on Twitter right now is none other than Daniel Bryan. Let's get to another phone call. Looks like what may be our final phone call from the evening. And again, if we can't get to you, we're sorry. We only have a little bit of time here tonight, but we will be live for 2 full hours tomorrow night, 11 Eastern, 10 Central on 540 ESPN, streaming all over the world at pwrshow.com and right here again on Blog Talk Radio. We are the #1 sports, most popular professional wrestling show on all of Blog Talk Radio, and we thank all of you for tuning in for that. David Hero, let's go to our final call of the evening. It's going to come from the 704 area code. Your thoughts on WWE SummerSlam.
What's up in Milwaukee, guys?
Hey,
how you doing?
What's up, my man?
What's up? 2 quick things. Okay, Cena's not going to turn a heel because he's got that new wrestling movie out in which he's a hero, so that would be kind of counter-marketing. Second, Nexus is not going anywhere. They got all those Nexus T-shirts that are selling like hotcakes. That ain't going to go nowhere. And it'll be interesting to see if they merge the second generation of Next with the first generation of Nexus. That'll be a good storyline. I look forward to seeing that.
That could be an interesting next step. We got 2 eliminations coming up this week, the season being over soon. Nexus defeated tonight. Maybe they need more power, so they handpick some, if not all, of the people from Season 2. Very interesting point.
And I hope Lay Cool takes out Melina. Don't need to see her anymore.
There you go.
Thank you very much for that phone call. Thank you to all of you who called in. We apologize to our callers who are waiting on hold now. But as I said, give us a call tomorrow. We'll be glad to get you on air as we discuss more about WWE SummerSlam, which was live tonight on pay-per-view. David Hero coming up next Sunday right here at Romines. Ken Anderson live with a special appearance here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You can be a part of it. Visit our website, pwrshow.com or blizzardbrawl.com to sign up and get your seat and space early on. David Hero, tomorrow night's going to be an interesting show coming to you from our 540 ESPN studios.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to hear the reaction from all those Miz Marquis out there and Daniel Bryan fans, because right now that's going to be the hot new feud, is Miz against Daniel Bryan.
Star of the night, David Hero. Pick one.
If I got to pick one, I'm going to pick Daniel Bryan.
I would tend to agree with you with a very close second, with fractions of a percentage point being The Miz. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, David Hero. Thank you, Romines, for hosting us tonight, and thank you to the hundreds of you who are in the chat room and all of you who tuned in to be a part of the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive Live. We'll be with you again after each WWE and TNA pay-per-view, so go ahead and mark the show as a favorite so you can get reminded every time the Pro Wrestling Report is on. Until tomorrow night at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, this is Dameon Nelson for the entire Pro Wrestling Report team saying thank you for tuning in to this Interactive Live wrap-up of WWE SummerSlam.